Hi, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photography talks. So today I want to talk about those in-between moments. So I was just at a photo show and I have some photos that I put into a gallery on my Roy Stryker project. And the Roy Stryker project will connect into this too. But the photographs are by George Lange, and he was a photographer who was hired to photograph the sitcom stars of the 1990s, like the Seinfelds and the Friends cast, and Ellen DeGeneres, and all these stars from television so that they could use those for promotional use. And he had a show, and he has a show, it may be up by the time this comes out, and it's a show of all those works, all the work that he did to create those photographs. And they're funny, they're creative. I use them in my Roy Stryker, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But the important thing is that he, as a photographer, I listened to one of his TED Talks, and he really believes in the importance of capturing those little in-betweens, which is what the Roy Stryker project has always been about. We go on vacation, we have holidays, we have big celebrations, but most of our life and our time is spent in those in-betweens. And he really embraces that importance of shooting those in-between moments, the little parts of a day. Like somebody driving a car, somebody doing something at home that's just ordinary, but it becomes a part of their life that you've documented that otherwise would never get documented. And I'm like so on the same page as he is as far as that is what is so important to photograph. When I went to the Boulder Film Festival, as much fun as the festival may be, the most fun I had was photographing my friends who some of them hadn't seen each other for a year, and just photographing their in-between, their time together. And I'll put a link to some of those photos in the show notes. Those are the kinds of things that's what matters most. And the reason I get those photos is because I carry that camera with me, and it's always on, it's always ready to go. I always set the exposure for whatever room I'm in, so I'm never fiddling with the camera. It's always set up to be pretty much a point and shoot. And as you know, I've talked about this before, I love a 20mm lens. A 20mm lens on a Nikon D610 is a go-to at the moment. And I use back button focus, and it's literally point and shoot. And the exposure's already set, and it's one of those things where I'm not interested so much in the tech of it all. I'm interested in capturing those moments, those friends smiling and laughing together. And George was talking about that too, and I think that there's so much to be encouraged to say, those are the moments that have to be photographed. If you're at home and you're with your family or a wife or a husband or a kid and they're just doing the things that they do, those are the things to photograph. I think sometimes we look for like great ideas for big projects to photograph and things that are big and gigantic and strong and can, we're not going to photograph war at home. Hopefully we don't have that situation at home. And we really need to look for the smallest things. I don't know if anybody knows the photographer, and if you do, put a link down below. There was a photographer who photographed his wife. I think it was in the 50s, and his wife is just in the kitchen, cooking and doing things in the kitchen. But they're so beautifully composed and lit, and they just look tremendous. And it's just an ordinary chore or activity, but it's something that captures the flavor of who they were together and what their life was like in real moments. And I think there's so much of a importance to do that. So if you're not doing that, maybe you might want to consider doing that. If it's something that you are doing, certainly build up a collection, because it's those moments, those photographs that will really be treasured for generations. And that's somewhat what we're doing. We're photographing for ourselves, and we're photographing for future generations to remember us. So capture those moments, those little small moments. And I'll put a link to George's work because I'm fascinated by what he's doing, and he's also in Boulder, I just met him last night. He was wearing a jacket, a sport coat that said, "Dream a little dream" on it. So you know he's one of those folks that has that love of life and wants to encourage and spread love and all that. I love that. And I'm going to connect with him, and I haven't yet. I just met him last night, and I'll send him some links. I'll send him a link to this. I'll send him a link to the Roy Stryker project where I have some of his photographs. And it's just such a wonderful thing to capture the little moments of life. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button if you can support. Hit the Patreon, and thanks so much for watching. And I'll bring you some more photo talks. Here's to good life.